This is Emilia Pérez. A couple of weeks ago, we had Joker Folie à Deux, which gave us a crime movie, comic strip, musical hybrid, which, as you probably know, has gone down very badly with a large section of the audience. It looks like it's on course to lose a ton of money. Now, we have a French trans crime cartel musical, written and directed by Jacques Audiard, who won a César and a BAFTA for Beat That My Heart Skipped and A Prophet. This is inspired by Boris Razon's novel Écoutez, which I haven't read. Audiard originally developed it as an opera libretto, set largely in Mexico, although shot largely in France. Zoe Saldana is Rita, a lawyer defending clients that she knows to be guilty. After she gets one of them off the hook, she gets a phone call that says, does she want to be rich? If so, come to a newsstand now. She goes to the newsstand where she is promptly kidnapped and winds up in the truck of a feared cartel leader, Manitas, terrifying cartel leader. What does he want? He says, well, to listen to what I want is to accept that you'll do it. So she listens. And she hears that what he wants is to become a woman. He wants to have gender reassignment surgery and become the true self that she, therefore, always knew herself to be, to turn away from the beast that has been on display that had to be there to survive. So Rita accepts, sets up the operation, relocates Manita's wife, played by Selena Gomez, and the kids to Switzerland, helps construct the myth that Manitas is dead. 4 years later, she's in London at a swanky restaurant, and she meets a successful businesswoman called Emilia Pérez. Here's a clip.
Are you English?
No, I'm not English. Why?
No, because you are pretty.
So,
Mingo.
And in that moment, she recognizes that Emilia is the person that she met 4 years ago. And at first she thinks that Emilia is there to kill her, to wipe out the last trace of her previous identity so that she can completely escape the past. But no, Emilia wants her help again. She wants her help to move her kids back to Mexico and install them in her house with their mother, where she will pose as their aunt. And all this plays out against the backdrop of thousands of people disappearing due to cartel drug trafficking violence. So, on paper, the story sounds like a mashup of Dog Day Afternoon, Sicario, M. Butterfly, and Mrs. Doubtfire, which really absolutely should not work. The fact that it does is a testament to the audacity of the production and also to Carla Sofia Gascon, who plays that central role of Emilia Pérez and is absolutely brilliant. She, along with Saldana, Gomez, and Adriana Paz, who plays Epifania, shared the award for Best Actress at Cannes, where the film also won the jury prize and the soundtrack award, which went to the score composer Clément Ducol and the songwriter Camille. It is really a quite breathtaking feat. I mean, it swings from scary crime drama, I mean, genuinely scary crime drama at the beginning when she's kidnapped and taken to meet the crime boss, to domestic melodrama, somebody who is in a house with their kids, who the kids don't know that this is a parent, they think it's an aunt, to a nail-biting thriller at one point, and also a kind of a weird, thwarted love story, all played out with songs. Now, as with Joker Folie à Deux, I think for me, it's the collision of genres that makes the music elements work so well. I mean, at one point, I was watching it thinking of Leos Carax's genre-bending films like Annette and Holy Motors, and actually, to some extent, Polar X. The song set pieces are terrific, and crucially, they draw us into the world of the drama rather than taking us out of it. If you remember, when we were talking about Joker Folie à Deux, and you asked the director, Todd Phillips, whether, somehow the songs, leavened the dark elements. And he said, no, they amplify them. Well, in this particular case, what the songs do is that they sweep us along with the drama. So that this thing that actually sounds like it shouldn't work at all really, really does. I mean, the best thing about it is you find yourself forgetting just how audacious the story is and simply going with it. And I knew very little about it going in. Obviously, people will know more about it because, you don't just go to the cinema to see something blind. But I really thought, this is an example of the way in which storytelling is changing in the modern moment. And it felt like the old constraints had lifted and the gloves were off and a story could go wherever it wanted and cinema was up to it, and the possibilities of the future are wide. I mean, I genuinely had one of those senses of I did not expect any of this, and I'm completely swept up with it. I love musicals anyway, but I just love the way in which it takes all these different elements and throws them all together. And it works because it works emotionally. On an emotional level, you absolutely engage with the characters. And it's a very fine piece of cinema. And people are currently talking about it as a big awards contender, which is be interesting to see how, whether any of that actually plays out, because it's definitely one of the most exciting films of the year.
So just to be absolutely clear, when we first meet the crime boss.
Yes.
Is that Carla Sofia as well?
Yes.
And is very, very scary.
Really properly terrifying.
Well, it sounds intriguing. When you look it up on IMDb,
yes,
it has the word comedy in there.
Yes, I know, and it's a weird thing. I've seen the word comedy thrown around.
It doesn't sound like a comedy the way you're talking.
No, I mean the definition of comedy has become so stretched recently that when they were talking about that film, my favorite cake, that was described as a comedy. And I'm sitting there thinking, I don't understand the definition of this as comedy. I mean, I think that it's in the broadest possible sense because it's the Golden Globes have musical and comedy. I would not use the word comedy to describe it. I mean, there are elements in it that are witty and funny and and brash and satirical, but I would not call it a comedy. I would call it a melodrama with songs.